Hi everyone, thanks for joining me on the channel today. Finance and freedom is a passion of mine, and I'm sure it may be a passion for you, whether that be both freedom and the finance piece or just one or the other. And well, that's a personal preference. Me, I like to talk about and I like to really understand better how finances and freedom can benefit a person, and I think that that is probably one of the biggest reasons why I started this YouTube channel. Again, not for me, but for us, you as the viewer particularly, and perhaps we can work together and go along this journey and help each other understand better what finances and freedom means to each of us individually. So to start off with, let's talk about how real estate is used or can be used to build wealth. A lot of people think about building wealth with real estate as like the Vanderbilt family over the time that they were really big in the financial circles within the United States. A lot of people also will think about Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series of books that discussed the building of wealth and generational wealth, particularly from the aspect of being a property owner, a landlord, someone that has built substantial wealth, substantial bank accounts, if you want to call it that, from owning rental real estate properties, both residential type, single family homes, apartment complexes, things of that nature, and more commercial properties like shopping malls, larger apartment complexes, businesses, things along those lines. And let's think about what makes it really interesting to you when it comes to real estate and building wealth. And maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't interest you whatsoever. Perhaps you're one of those individuals that would rather take your money, your income at the end of each paycheck that's left over after you pay your bills and after you put food on the table and things of that nature. And the money that you save, some of it maybe goes to a savings account for your future or for a vacation or for the kids' education. Perhaps some other amounts of that income that's remaining at the end of each pay period, you want to put that into a mutual fund like the Index 500 with Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, some of the other fund families out there that charge relatively low or no fees to manage your money for you. And that can build long-term wealth, both for yourself, your immediate family, and perhaps other family members as time goes on. And that's something that certainly is aspirational for a lot of people. They would rather do that than go and spend their money on things, and they build wealth to pay for the future, for old age, for those vacations, and for education for kids and grandkids, nieces, nephews, things like that. So does real estate really make a difference to you individually? Well, that's really, it comes down again to how do you feel about it. Perhaps you don't really like real estate much in anything other than a place to put your stuff and have a place to live and raise your family and eat your dinners and things like that. And that's okay, because not everybody needs or is meant to be a landlord. Not everybody wants to be a landlord. Gosh, that can be a lot of headaches, and it's certainly a lot of work for an individual that wants to go it alone. In other words, you want to be a landlord, but you don't want to have anybody else's fingers in the pie. So you're going to manage the tenants. You're going to manage getting the rental pay at the end of each month or the beginning of each month for each one of your tenants. You're going to take care of plumbing issues and light fixture issues and issues if the water main breaks in the house and things along those lines. You just want to do everything yourself. And certainly you can do that. And if you're a very hands-on person, Um, Certainly, it's nothing that says that you can't do that. Just understand it is another job. So if you have a job where you are earning an income and paying your bills, you're taking care of your family out of the income from that, and then you become a landlord and you want to do it all yourself, you just took on another occupation. It is certainly not an easy thing to do. It's certainly a very busy thing to do. Those calls, if you're managing your rental properties yourself, can come at any hour of the day or the night. It always seems like the stories that I've been told and heard over the years has been that those calls usually happen at 2 in the morning, and it's because the toilet's overflowing. Well, there are a lot of things that happen at 2 o'clock in the morning, but if you don't want to have to deal with that, there are other ways in which you can be a landlord. And you can have tenants pay for the mortgage on that property, and you can gain the income from that, and certainly the equity on those properties as time goes on. Number one, if you want to be a landlord and you want to own the rental properties, by all means, I would consider finding a good property management company and having them handle those types of things for you. You can certainly pay, or perhaps you would prefer to pay, a small percentage out of the income each month of the rental payment that you receive from your tenant and have that money paid to the property management company, and then, well, they can take care of those 2 o'clock in the morning calls because something is happening that was unexpected. Certainly, there are a lot of property management companies, so you need to vet them and find the one that's best for you and the location of your property. And you want to make sure that they have your best interest in mind, not just how much are they going to make off of you each month for the period that they're managing your property. Okay, so that's certainly an option. Another option, if you want to have real estate in your portfolio, if you are an investor, is a REIT, a real estate investment trust. Certainly you can find those amongst a lot of different types of investment and brokerage companies. Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity are three of the big names that have those. There are a lot of other ones. BlackRock is another company that comes to mind, and there are tons of them. Okay, so do your own research, do your due diligence. I am not a financial planner, and I'm certainly not your financial planner. So anything that we discuss on the channel is not financial advice. Okay, that's why I say do your own due diligence and do your own research. Okay, if you decide to go that way, certainly nothing wrong with that, and you do get some of the benefits of owning real estate, but you don't have those phone calls. You don't have to deal with a property management company or manager of that property management company. And you do get some of those benefits, namely in the form of interest and income, capital gains, and that sort of thing. Okay. Again, not financial advice. Do your own due diligence, do your own research. Okay. What about a personal property? What about the house that you live in? Well, not everybody wants to own that property. A lot of people prefer to just rent. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the aspect that you can live in a home that is not yours, but you pay the rent on it, which is kind of like mortgage, but you don't really own the property, okay? And take the difference between what it would cost you to own that house versus renting, and then you can invest that in that REIT, real estate investment trust, or a different type of mutual fund or exchange traded fund, ETF. And you can put that into the healthcare sector. You can put again into a real estate sector. You could put that into a general stock fund like the S&P 500 or the total stock market funds. Okay, so those are definitely some options if you would prefer to rent versus own the property. Now, a lot of people would say, why would I rent if I can own the property? Well, let's think about that for a second. If you rent a property, it's kind of like renting an apartment, only typically you are going to have more space, more bedrooms, bigger yard, obviously, place where you can have your own dogs, your own cats. You know, kids can run crazy out in the backyard if you have a backyard that's big enough for them to run crazy in, right? But if you're renting that property, with the exception of things that are general wear and tear, that, you know, a light bulb burns out, well, it's kind of usually on you as the renter to replace the light bulb, okay? You're not going to call the landlord or the property management company and go, hey, my light bulb burned out in my kitchen, come fix it. They'll probably do that, but they're going to charge you for that, and it's probably going to be a lot more than it would be if you just went and bought your own light bulb and put it in yourself, okay? Let's talk about owning that place, though. So with renting, you got minimal cost other than what you have to pay for the monthly rental fee, okay? You probably still have to pay for your own trash, your own cable, your own internet, that sort of thing, okay? Even as a renter. If you own that property, however, let's think about the other things that you have to pay for. Well, let's name them off. Property fees, you know, in other words, your property taxes with your local or your county government, if you're here in the United States. You've got other fees that you would have to pay for, like having someone clean out your gutters. If you got a 2-story house, you're probably not really keen about climbing up on the roof, okay? So I'm not. Maybe you enjoy that, but if I had to, I would probably call somebody to do that so that I wouldn't fall off the roof and break something, okay? You got your water bill that sometimes when you're renting a property, the water bill is included in your rent. Maybe, maybe not. Read your contract if you're looking to rent. But as a homeowner, you're definitely going to have to pay your own water bill. And we've already mentioned property taxes. Electric bill. Again, if you're renting, it may or may not be included. Again, do your own due diligence and check out what your rental contract says. I know everyone says, I never read those things, but when you go and rent a place, apartments or otherwise, they're going to tell you, read the doggone contract, read the fine print, read everything on there. And if you have questions, by all means, ask, okay? But when you're owning that property, when you are the owner of that house that you're living in, you have all those bills, and you have a lot more. You know, the emergency in the middle of the night when the plumbing starts overflowing. Well, as the owner of that house, you're going to be responsible for it. Excuse me. You're going to be responsible for that. Whereas if you were renting that property, you would call the property management office even on their emergency number at 2 in the morning and go, come fix it. It's flooding. What are you going to do, and when are you going to get here to fix it? Okay. So renting versus buying, you really have to think about that. And there are actually some fairly wealthy people that they prefer to rent their house as opposed to own it, because they know that they can earn a higher rate of return on their money if they're taking that difference between all the money it would cost them to own the house that they're in versus renting it, and they put that into the stock market or other types of investments where they're going to earn a higher rate of return. Typically, being a property owner for a house that you live in, depending on the area you're in, depending on whether you're in California or Kentucky or Texas or some other place, you might get 4 or 5% a year in interest. Right now, there are still various types of savings accounts where you can make more than that, okay? Again, not financial advice. Think about what you want to do and how much you want to be, let's say, a landlord, okay? So, yeah, that's kind of it for this video. I mean, just putting some food for thought out there. If you watched the previous video, I kind of gave you guys some homework. If you watched that video, if you haven't, please go back and watch it. You may find that you want to make some comments about that video. By all means, feel free to do so. Feel free to make comments on this one. Again, this YouTube channel is about you guys. It's not just about me, not just about my passion for finances and real estate and finding freedom in the things that we do, okay? I really have a passion to help other people out in those regards. And if I know what you guys are looking at or looking for or want to discuss, certainly those are things that I can bring up in future videos. So, landlord, renter, which one do you prefer? Leave a comment in the section below and let's talk about that. Future videos, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Not every video is going to be about real estate or investing in gold or any particular subject per se. It's going to be focused on finances and freedom. Again, that's the reason for the name of this channel. So, with that being said, adios. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I appreciate you guys and I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks a lot. Bye now.